Welcome everybody. We are going to watch a coming of age film tonight. I'm Seda Marie for those of you who are new, and this is Curtis TT. This is our second meeting. We meet every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on Zoom, and after the movie we will discuss it, so we can begin that afterwards. Let's get into the discussion about the film. So, how does everybody feel about how the movie was? Somebody said it taught them to be gay and live happily, be white and middle class. That's respectable. That's a that's a respectable takeaway from this film. Somebody said, according to this movie, homophobia is a myth. Thank you. We need to address that because that's not a genuine queer experience. Like, you don't get out to your whole school and everybody is like fine and happy and lucky and your friends have a little arguments with you and that's all. That's not generally what will occur realistically, and I think they were trying to sell a dream, and a dream is not what we need as queer people.
Very true.
I
And I
think
also felt like, sorry about that.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I also felt like some points in the movie, Bram was just so like he was so angry and mean. Like it was so shocking, like how quickly like he changed up his like it's just so, oh my gosh.
But I think that might be something that they got right, because I feel like when people, especially teenagers, are holding things in and they have secrets that they can't share with anybody, they tend to be very angry and they tend to lash out. And like when Bram realized that he kind of, he had people, he had his people, and he saw that he had like Simon who loved him. He kind of loosened up a bit. I think that's what they were trying to represent. Maybe. I don't know how that might have come across to y'all.
I feel like it had a very kind of, the more popular coming of age movies that they have. It has this kind of whimsical, and the ending is everything is great, nothing hurts, that kind of vibe. That's what they were trying to go for, the most popular ones. But then those most popular ones have a certain kind of, I don't know, like energy as you would I want to use. I don't know what word I want to use, but that's kind of how it is. But then what they're trying to portray is not the same thing as what is usually in regular coming of age movies. So they're missing out a little bit in that aspect.
Yeah, and I feel like you can't you can't directly translate a queer coming of age film into the regular coming of age genre. You can't expect it to be the same thing. And I feel like that's what they try to do. They just try to be like, oh, coming of age would make it gay, and that can't work, because being gay is a alternative experience that it can't work in a regular old story. You can't fit all of that into. Yes, they did cookie cut it into a white straight boy film, and nobody here has a white straight boy experience, and so that it's very difficult to relate to. And for them to have the happy ending that is so common in coming of age films, they had to they couldn't address all of the problems that are usually encountered when people get outed as queer people. They couldn't address general queer experiences and queer struggles in this film, because that wasn't the goal of the film. The film was just supposed to be happy-go-lucky coming of age, which I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, and I think a lot of queer people who aren't white boy, gay, nice, happy family like Simon. some people believe that since gay people can't have that kind of happy fairy tale, fairy tale ending, they put it in movies so that we can pretend like we're getting that ending we want. Hmm. I think that yes, we want to see queer joy. Yes, we want to see queer joy, but we want to see realistic queer joy. I think that's more important. I think seeing queer reality is more important than queer joy.
With the queer joy thing, I feel like it feels because queer joy can't exist like, in the reality that we have in the midst of, circumstances that you face, right? But when you kind of emit those circumstances, it's not really the same, experience that would bring about the kind of joy.
Somebody said it blinds people to the actual experiences of queer people and perpetuates the view that the LGBTQ plus community is being overdramatic. And here in the Caribbean, people tend to say, why do you all need any of those things? We're not doing all or nothing. So why all they can't just do all they had to do in private and do shove it down our throat or whatever. But having legal rights protections and social equity is important to all marginalized groups of people. They don't go through anything of consequence. They just, like Simon just comes out and is like, oh yeah, cool. But that's not common. That's not a common experience. And for the film to kind of glaze over that is very invalidating of negative queer experiences, which unfortunately enough are more common and more popular than that kind of positive queer experience. But I don't think anybody has ever gone through anything as shiny and nice as Simon's story. Somebody said we've been men alone trying. I don't think they will. I don't think they will. Caribbean people don't understand how many LGBT people there are. Yes. Yes. I don't think anybody understands how many LGBT people there are. Are we being represented in society? Does anybody else know we exist? Who besides us knows we exist and that we are so prominent and that we are so common and that there are so many of us? And that it's important that we are seen in community and in society. When people make queer films that can't be humanized and can't be seen as relatable by anybody besides a little white gay boy or white gay people, and people in the Caribbean or even people of color in general see it and they're not very queer affirming people. They will say, oh, that is some white people nonsense. And that's a nice excuse people like to use plenty, or that dating is some white people nonsense. And it doesn't help the way they acted like it helps when it came out. It doesn't do much, if anything. Nothing they tried to explore in the film was done the way one would have hoped that a film exploring that kind of content could have and should have. We're blaming the people, but it's genuinely not entirely their fault. We embrace the false misrepresented teachings of Christianity and maintain colonial and imperialist structures. That is so true. I never meant to sound as though I was blaming the Caribbean people for the views that they have. We know about. I am aware and I do acknowledge that the only reason that people maintain these views is because of colonization and things such as the heteropatriarchy and the static gender binary only became enforced strictly after colonization and as a result of and because of the white man. And so the same white man who was the cause of all of the problems that we have to face now, again, the little white boy movie, and we had to sit down here and struggle because our people still under mental slavery. And, that's it's disappointing and it's disheartening. And, we don't have a little gay Caribbean movie. That's what we have to do because nobody else gonna do it for us. So we have to create the things we want to see. Even homosexuals don't understand that they perpetuate heteronormativity and thus discrimination against themselves. Yes. I usually say I hate gay people, and that's not true. But when I say it, what I mean is that the LGBT plus community has proven to be has proven itself to be a very toxic community globally. A lot of misogyny presents itself in queer men. A lot of heteronormativity presents itself in queer relationships. And a lot of transphobia presents itself. A lot of transphobia presents itself. And in the West, a lot of racism presents itself. Then you talk about body shaming and fat phobia and all kind of thing. So we can't ignore that all of these things are again rooted in colonialism, and it just shows that colonialism has bled into everything, and everybody who thinks that they are accepting or yes, exactly, the intersectionality of it all. There is no one group of people that has not been affected by all of that negativity. And so we can't pretend that we are immune and that we are like this all accepting community. Would anybody like to share how they thought today's session was?
I think it was very informative. I really enjoyed the show and the discussion that we had afterwards. The new perspectives on a lot of these topics, it was very enlightening and insightful.
I thought today's session was very informative, went a lot into the intricacy in the words. It went into a lot of depth on the sociological impacts of queerness on society, a lot of opinions, heard a lot of fun people talk.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Okay, so thank you for all of the feedback. Thank everybody for coming. And I will see you all next week, hopefully.